Good afternoon and happy new year. Have you ever faced an issue you felt like you were going to lose right away? Have you ever dealt with something where right away you just knew it was a losing battle? You said to yourself, I can never do this. This is too much. Oh my gosh, it's going to cost too much money. It's going to take too much of my time. They're better than me. I shouldn't even try, right? We all tell ourselves these questions. These are everyday battles and everyday inner conversations we have with ourselves. It's no different when it comes to legal issues. In fact, it's almost worse. It's almost magnified when it comes to legal issues, whether it's should I put an estate plan together or it's a family law issue, whether it is a property battle, right? It just seems like they're all compounded because it can be a lot more overwhelming, a lot more complex, a lot more frustrating when there's a legal issue involved. It can cost a lot more money, a lot more time, maybe some relationships, right? Because we're being conflict with other people. We don't want that to happen, right? And then scary, scary. Imagine a letter coming in from the IRS telling you that you owe X, Y, and Z amount of money. And you're like, I don't even have this. What is going on, right? A notice from the court about a lawsuit that you're a part of and you don't even know what you did, or you don't even feel like it matches with the actions that you took. An email from an attorney, from an opposing counsel who they have this degree of information and this degree that you don't even have, and they're telling you about something you don't know about, and you just get scared because you think they have to be right and I'm wrong, right? Because I don't have the same information. The list goes on and on and on. So we have these inner conversations with ourselves, and our immediate reaction often is just walking into the fear and walking in the fear and not doing anything at all, or just letting the chips fall where they may. But that's always a losing battle when it comes to legal battles, okay? Again, too often, just this kind of notice will immediately discourage people from acting, and they lose by default. All right. By default. That means it's automatic. It doesn't require anything but you not taking action. All right. But today, instead of feeling the fear, we're going to use it to fuel you to victory. All right. So take a deep breath, take several deep breaths, relax yourself, and listen into our conversation where I'm going to give you these three factors that you can to take you from fear to favor in your legal battles. Okay. So, the first one is, first of all, you must decide to get into the battle. Yes, it's scary. Yes, there are risks involved. Yes, you might have to pay out of pocket for expert advice. And maybe you don't have the money you need right away. Okay, so yes, there's going to be something at stake, but the truth is, there's always something at stake, whether you know it or not. You must decide to get into the battle. Okay, and I'm going to give you a real life example of this happening. It's not a legal example, but I do have those as well. But this one is a lot more fun, and I thought it'd be a lot more relatable because it just demonstrates that even when you think you're staying out of something, you're still losing. Okay, so this is January 10th, right? We're just coming back here in our offices from the New Year and Christmas holiday break on Monday, the 8th. And so over the break, I was with family and we were playing a card game. And we know how families gets with card games. It can be very competitive, right? We want to win. So we're like trying to outpace each other and outplay each other. And so a family member and I, we're doing that, right? We're playing these cards that whoever has the most at the end of the round, if they have those cards, they have the most of them, you get the most points. All right. And whoever has the least, they get that same amount of points taken away. And so me and a family member were like going back and forth. We're in this war about who can stack the most of these cards, right? And there's another family member who's like, oh, I'm staying out of it. I'm staying out of it. I already know what's going on. I don't want to get in the middle of it. Okay. So at the end of the round, at the end of the game, I have the most of these cards, and the family member that I was competing with has less, right? So I win those points. But the person who stayed out of it, we reread the rules. The person who had the least amount of those cards, including those who had zero at all, they were the one that actually lost the points. So that means that even though this person stayed out of the battle, they lost the most, right? They lost because they stayed out of it. So you have to decide to get in it because you're going to lose if you stay out. And it plays out with the legal world all the time too. I can tell you right now from experience, the clients that I've had and I've won the most with, they got in the battle and they were ready to fight. Whether they had that personality type or not, they knew that what was on the line, something was on the line. And whatever it was worth fighting for. It was worth putting the money into, it was worth putting the time into, more than just taking the loss. Okay. And I'll give you another example of one who didn't get in the battle and lost more than they thought that they would have been spending, right? More than they thought they would have cost them. So a few years back, I consulted with a gentleman who was being sued for, he was being sued by a tenant, right? So he was a landlord and he was being sued for about $10,000. And he thought, I don't have the money to hire an attorney. I know I didn't do this, but I just don't know what to do. I don't have the money. I'm just going to let it play out. Right. So $10,000 is on the line. But he doesn't spend any money towards getting an attorney. When he finally came around to me, the battle was already lost. He had not filed one single court action in his favor. Right. He hadn't hired an attorney. He hadn't done any of that. And by the time I got around to actually reviewing his case, the default set in. There was already a judgment against him for the whole $10,000. All right. So he thought because he wasn't taking action, because he couldn't, right? It doesn't matter why you stay out of it, whether you want to purposely stay out because you don't like fighting, whether you think you can't afford to, whether you think you don't have enough right now. It doesn't matter. There's going to be something on the line no matter what, whether it's points in a card game or whether it's money judgment, whether it's a piece of property. There's something on the line. If you don't decide to get into it, often what you're penalized with is more than you think you can afford to get in. So this gentleman didn't spend any money, right, on counsel to represent him in the case. Thought it was okay, just kind of moseying along. Didn't file anything in his defense in this case. So he saved all that time. He saved all that money, right, from not paying an attorney. But what was the end result? A $10,000 automatic judgment. It's called a default judgment because nothing was ever done to say that this didn't happen otherwise. Okay. So because he failed to decide to get in a battle, he still lost. So that's number one. That's just number one. You have to make a decision to get into the battle. Now, of course, think, is it worthwhile, right? When it comes to losing $10,000, is that worthwhile? When it comes to losing a piece of property, is it worthwhile? If it's just a screaming match with somebody, is that worthwhile? Probably not, right? But we have to decide if there's something on the line, if it's going to be taken from us, if it's going to cost us, what is it worth to us? And then decide to get in it, because you will lose if you decide to stay out. That's just the bottom line. So number one, make a decision. Now, let's say you decide to get in it. All right, let's go to the second factor then. Second factor is to gather all evidence in your favor. So this is where I see a lot of clients slip up all the time too. They might have an issue and it looks decent on paper, but they don't have anything to prove their side. They don't have any evidence. And without evidence, we can't make the case. Okay. What I find really interesting is I do a lot of work in probate court, and the word probate is from the Latin word of probar, which is to prove. Essentially, you're proving the case, right? How do you do that? You do that with proof. With proof. What do you have? Gather all the evidence in your favor. Do you have a contract that you signed? Do you have a deposit slip of money that you put that you deposited to whoever it is, right? To the government, to a contractor, to a merchant, right? Do you have a bank slip? You went to the bank and you wanted to do X, Y, and Z, and instead they did A, B, and C. Do you have that, right? Do you have witnesses, possibly, whether they're just what we call lay people, which are just people that are kind of around, or expert witnesses like doctors, like lawyers, who can testify to something higher, like a medical issue or a legal issue? Do you have that? Do you have a video? Be careful with videos. They're not always admissible, but do you have something? Do you have pictures, right? Do you have something where you can prove your case in your favor too, not just kind of general stuff, but like the more you have that can really prove what you're saying and or prove against what somebody is saying about you, right? So again, your favor. Do you have it? If so, gather all of it. Gather all of it. And I say in your favor, it can be out of your favor also, because we don't want to be misleading, right, to the court or to the other party. So just gather all of this evidence because the more we can have, the more we have to prove, to make that point, the more we can work with it, and the more we can build up to the third point of desirable outcome. So let me go to the third point now. Visualize your result, strategize the roads. And what do I mean by that? Think about what your objective is in this legal battle, whatever it is, and it doesn't even have to be like a battle, like a court battle. But even when it comes to estate planning, there's a lot of family tension, a lot of family conflict just from creating a will or creating a trust and who's going to be left out, who's going to get what. These are battles too, right? So visualize your result. What do you want out of it in the end? Do you want to create a trust for your grandchildren to benefit from? Do you want to take this battle to court because you want to keep property that the government is trying to take from you or that a neighbor is trying to say is actually theirs and not yours? Do you want to, try to prove what's in this contract and that somebody broke the agreement, right? They breached the contract. Is that what the result is? That you want to be compensated for that? Whatever that ultimate outcome is, see it so clearly that you know exactly how to get there, and that strategize the roads. Okay, and I say roads plural because there always can be more than one way to get that one result. All right. And I'm going to say it this way, especially when it comes to court. I'm often telling my clients, don't go to court first. That's just one way. That's one way. And it's very popularized by media, right? All the law shows, the TV shows, the movies and everything, and all the actors that have played lawyers, etc. But that's always the last option, okay? In almost every case, it's always a point of last resort because once it's there, it has to get out that same way. And it's very rigid, very inflexible, very by the book, and can be very political also. So that's why you want to include that as part of the roads, right? But that's not the only road you can take to get to that result. And oftentimes, that's not even the fastest road. Most of the time, it's the longest road. It's going to take the most time and cost the most money to get to something you could have taken that would cost less and lost less money and less time. All right. So let's say it is to, for instance, I have a case now where there's a issue of property ownership. Okay, so let's say your objective is to become the legal owner of the property. Well, you can go take that straight to court. But again, that's only one way. You can negotiate with other owners, right? That's one way. You can propose that a buyout. That's another way. You can try to put something together with the other party's attorney. I mean, there are so many different options that going to court is like, don't even go there yet, and these other ways don't even have to cost as much time or as much money. When it comes to creating a will or a trust, that's you know what, not even that. When it comes to, let's say, selling a property, because this comes up a lot too. When it comes to selling a property, all right. Do you need that to go to court right away? No, you probably don't, right? I'll take a real life case, for example, that I'm thinking about. When it comes to selling a property, a lot of times people are not in town to sell. So they'll do what's called a power of attorney. That means they will empower someone else to act for them to sell that property when they're gone. Now, if you have a good one, you can do that right away. And that's the fast road. Okay, get a power of attorney so they can act for you when you're not able to, right? If you don't do that, and then let's say for some reason you lose the ability to think and act for yourself, the only road you have is to go to court. And again, that's the longest road and it costs the most money for the same result, just to sell the property, right? So think ahead of time, really think about what it is you want and strategize all of the ways to get there, including the detours, which means, somebody might fight you for it, not physically, right? But fight you in court for it. Maybe some money might come up short, so you have to kind of delay it a little bit. Or, maybe you are in negotiations before going to court and it's just not going the way that you intended right away. Strategize for that too and have a plan in place for that too. Okay. But it doesn't mean that you can't get the ultimate result. And you know what? I would be lying to you if I don't tell you this. Is it always going to guarantee everything the way you want it, how you want it, when you want it? No. But does this give you the best chance of winning? Absolutely. All right. I say this all the time. The clients that I've had the most success with, that I've been able to work with the best, and have had the best experience too, not just with me, but experience in these systems that can be very rigid, that can be very rough, that can be very intimidating. The best clients have taken this course of action. They have made a decision that this is worth fighting for. I want to keep this property. It was taken from me unfairly. I'm going to go get it back. I've been here longer than anybody else. I don't care who else has ownership for it. I'm going to get it. Somebody did me wrong in this contract and now they're going to pay for it because it's not right. So, and then something bigger is always at issue. You know, Oftentimes it's family, it's legacy. I'm doing this because my mother needs this. I'm doing this because I want to give it to my children. I'm doing this because my community needs it, right? So they have decided it's worth getting into the battle. Whether I'm really comfortable with it or not, that's okay. That's why I have this attorney who's going to work with me and speak for me and act for me, even if I'm not comfortable doing it. But again, I have to ensure them that I can do this for you, but I need you to be willing to come along and cooperate. I can't just go out there and I'm just throwing jabs and stuff. Like, it's not my case ultimately, right? But I am your advocate to help you get that result. Okay, so they've made their decision. They're going to get in a battle. They've gotten the evidence in their favor. They've gotten the witnesses together. They've gotten the documentation together. They've gotten the deeds to the property together. If it's a will contest, they have that will together. They have it all so that we can start to construct their favorable outcome. And then they're visualizing the result. What's it going to be like when I get this property back, right? That's the ultimate result. I'm going to get this property so that I can give it to my grandchild. I'm going to get it so I can give it to my mother, so I can give it to my niece, my nephew, whomever it is, right? That's very crystal clear in their mind. They're very confident of why they are in this battle. And then we strategize the roads to get there. Again, we're not always going to court right away. That's going to be our last line of defense. That's going to be our last resort. But what can we do? We can negotiate with the opposing attorney. We can negotiate with the city government. We can negotiate with this business entity. We can negotiate with the neighbor. We can negotiate with brother, sister, whomever it is, right? We can do these things. All right. The only losers in these battles, and I won't even say only, there's another caveat, but let's say it this way, are the ones who never take any action. Okay? Taking no action will always guarantee that the results are determined by other people, including, and oftentimes especially, opposing forces. All right? So I was going to say the only losers, but the other losers are people who start, but they don't finish. Okay, and that's something entirely different. Like I said, the clients I've had the most success with, they've made these decisions and they followed course. Some of them that I have not been able to get through to the finish line is because they stopped along the way. By no fault of their own, I don't blame anybody, but when it comes to these kinds of issues, again, it's a partnership here. Like I said, I don't just throw out the jabs and I'm out there by myself. No, I'm out there fighting for you, but you have to be there, right? For me to be able to give me something to fight with. Okay. Uh you always see, like, in a boxing match, the boxer is never the only person near the arena, in the arena, right? They're just a representation of the fight. They always have a coach in their corner. They always have a team, right? So it's never a one person battle. So I'll change that to the biggest losers. How about that? The biggest losers are the ones who never take any action because They guarantee that their results will always be determined by other forces, especially opposing forces. The other, maybe second biggest losers are those who start, but they just don't finish along the way for whatever reason it is. They're just tired of the battle. They're frustrated. They're scared. They don't like the conflict. They'd rather just stay out of it. That's the second biggest. And I have so many stories about that too. We will definitely continue this on another day because this is going to be a constant theme through this year of 2024. It's a big year for our practice, and we'll be talking more about that. But the theme I'm seeing consistently and that we're going to be really honing in on is taking on those challenges. Even when it looks like you can't win, even when you feel like you can't win, even when it looks like everything is against you, it will always be against you if you never face it up front. Okay, no matter what the fear may be, you have to be willing and able to take on those battles. And that's just the journey of life. Okay, but especially in the legal world, that's what it is. All right. So that was our lesson for today. I hope it was helpful for you. If so, please do like the video, share it, subscribe. We're here every Wednesday. We took a break last week for the New Year holiday, so it's good to be back every Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we will see you again next week on Wednesday, January 17th at that time. Take care.